Hello, folks. My name is the Old Left, and I'm here to enlighten. Well, today's November 22nd. It is the 50th year of John F. Kennedy's death, and I want to do a commentary on that death. Um, well, let's say John F. Kennedy, the man. As I said, it was 50 years ago today with the tragic murder of President John F. Kennedy. Let me, however, dismiss a myth about him. Many of my fellow progressive friends praise him as some sort of great liberal. And although I would have voted for him on Election Day in 1960 as a lesser evil to Richard Nixon, the truth be known that John F. Kennedy was not as liberal as some. Basically hooked on nostalgia made him out to be. In the Democratic primaries of 1960, along with U.S. Senator John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts, there were three other major candidates running for president, including U.S. Senator Lyndon B. Johnson of Texas, U.S. Senator Stuart Symington of Missouri, and of course, U.S. Senator Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota. JFK was actually fairly conservative for a Democratic senator from the Northeast. Lyndon Johnson, in hindsight today, but back then I would have considered him a Southern Democrat to make me suspicious, and basically speaking in the context of 1960, in spite of the fact that he would later on sign the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Stuart Symington was basically an establishment, corporate, big money type of his day. In the primary contest, my support would have naturally gone to U.S. Senator Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota. Hubert Humphrey was a fighting progressive populist. He had to start politically early on in the Minnesota Farmer Labor Party, and overall, while never calling himself a socialist, Hubert Humphrey's politics was to the left of an FDR New Deal liberal, and not really all that far removed from being a Norman Thomas socialist, although he was never a socialist nor a member of the Socialist Party. His lifelong commitment to labor, justice, racial equality, and civil liberties made him the man we needed in 1960. So, the question is, why dump on JFK on the 50th year of his assassination? That's because substance means more to me than symbolism. Hubert Humphrey was a strong liberal in a time when that term had a good meaning. He might lack Kennedy's charm, youthful demeanor, and even his good looks, yet he has something infinitely superior: ideals. Kennedy was an empty suit, like many politicians then and now, and he was probably closer ideologically to his main rival, Vice President Richard Nixon, in 1960 than he was to one of his main Democratic Party rivals in 1960, Hubert Humphrey. So basically, it comes down to this. Hubert Humphrey was probably as close to a social democrat in this country that could have been in the White House. He did become the 1968 Democratic Party nominee for president, and he had the baggage of the Vietnam War and latching on to President Johnson, and that caused him to narrowly be defeated. Instead, in 1972, 1976, he would not be able to advance more politically in regard to the White House aspirations. But the thing about it is that Hubert Humphrey, for a while, was considered in the middle of the American political spectrum. I mean, if you were a Hubert Humphrey Democrat in the 1960s and on to the early mid-1970s, you were considered middle of the road. And to be a Hubert Humphrey Democrat in 2013 or any time after 1980 with the election of Ronald Reagan to the president, you're looked upon the same way somebody will look upon somebody who's a supporter of Ralph Nader or Dennis Kucinich or Bernie Sanders, that type, and as if that's so terrible, because I'm a fan of Ralph Nader, Dennis Kucinich, and Bernie Sanders, and they have a social democratic perspective. And it's too bad that that social democratic perspective is not there in the Democratic Party. That what you have in the Democratic Party is a road that fork. You have basically on the right wing of the current day Democratic Party corporate yuppies who are socially semi-liberal, and then you have the politically correct left, who cares more about saying the right thing at the right time instead of tackling on poverty and the economic question of our underclass in this country. So that's what's going on, folks, today with the Democratic Party. And how nice it would be if there was such a thing as a Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. Someone like a Hubert Humphrey that could speak out for working class concerns, regardless of race and ethnicity and sexual orientation. But we don't have that today. We're stuck with the Democrats that represents, by today's standards, a Rockefeller Republican from the 60s and 70s versus the Republican Party, which has been taken over by the Tea Party types, Christian right, big money corporate types. Yeah, there are big money corporate types in the Democrats too, but they're just even much more obnoxious in the Republican Party. So you don't really have a choice. You don't have a choice when basically in our two-party system, our center-left, the Democrats, behave more like the center-right in Europe, and the Republican Party are just an eyelash short of behaving like some of the smaller fascist parties in Europe. And this is where we are in today's politics. And Americans, seriously, we could do better than this. Anyway, feel free to comment. Subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/old left. And hear a perspective of the old left, of people who are social democratic, of people who have a sane grip on what needs to be done in relations to solving the problems and improving and eradicating an underclass so we can become a majoritarian middle class society with a socially tolerant makeup where everybody has civil liberties and where we can enjoy peace without getting involved with pointless war halfway across the globe. Folks, think about that. Feel free to comment. Good, bad, and indifferent. Take care. And with Thanksgiving coming up next week, happy holidays.